Thank you all for coming to Talkspace's third annual conference, Mental Health and Youth, Breakdown or Breakthrough. Thank you to our panelists and moderators for important discussions, and to Teen Vogue for your ongoing support. Thank you, Michael Phelps, for partnering with Talkspace to share your story about how therapy helped save your life. You are helping break down the dangerous stigma around mental health and giving hope to millions of people in need. Your courage is an inspiration for all of us. As you all know, the Talkspace mission is to make mental health care accessible and affordable for all. We launched the company in 2012 with this vision and have kept it as a beacon as we've grown over the last 6 years. During this time, we saw tens of thousands of teens reach out to the platform hoping to get help. Often, they were in a state of crisis, in pain, desperate. Unfortunately, due to legal concerns, we were not able to provide them care. Many of the teens seeking help were going through typical challenges of growing up: fights with parents, stress at school, dating, social anxiety, peer pressure around drinking, sex, and drugs. But other things they brought up were uniquely relevant to today's social networks, where they spend nearly 9 hours a day on average. Cyberbullying, debilitating feelings of competition, jealousy, and inadequacy. Teens today are growing up in a world defined by follows, filters, likes, and selfies. A world of false, inflated identities that have nothing to do with who we really are. A culture that sets unrealistic standards of beauty and popularity. Self-obsession is celebrated, narcissism is praised. 9 hours a day of seeking attention and validation for teens, this is the new normal, and it's triggering record levels of anxiety and loneliness. The effects are devastating. A recent study showed that the number of young women hospitalized for mental health issues has nearly doubled in the last 10 years. Another new study shows that there has been a 68% rise in self-harm related hospital admissions for girls under 17 in the past decade. Depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicide risk are at an all-time high, and studies have shown a direct correlation between these issues and time spent on social media. As a parent, I worry about my 2 daughters, Mia and Shelly, who are 13 and 10, as I'm sure all other parents do as well. I know what's expected of them in this wild west of obsessive comparison and competition, jealousy, and isolation. Recently, a 14-year-old girl reached out to us on the brink of starvation, desperate for help. she hadn't eaten anything in 3 days because she wanted to look like a model she was following on Instagram. She was ill, she was anxious, she suffered from anorexia, and she didn't know what to do. Several years ago, a 13-year-old girl reached out to our customer service team in a state of panic. She told one of our representatives that she had recently met someone on Skype who claimed to be a celebrity she admired and who'd asked her to get naked for him on screen. She complied, and he began taking photos of her as she stood there, silenced. If you don't do everything I say, he threatened, I'll share these photos on Facebook. This girl came to Talkspace because she had nowhere else to go. A month ago, a 16-year-old boy approached us because one of his classmates had just found out that he was gay. The student had apparently seen a text on the boy's phone that outed him and immediately wrote the boy a series of threatening Facebook messages. He told him that he had found out his secret and reminded him that he could spread the news online at any moment. This 16-year-old young man was paralyzed with fear. He was terrified that the other student would post about his sexuality on school social media groups. Adults are not equipped to deal with these dynamics, let alone children whose brains are still developing and whose identities have not been fully formed. But what struck me in all of these stories is how eager these young adults were to get help. They believed that there was something they could do to alleviate their pain. They were proactive. How inspiring is to think about these kids who, even in the midst of pain, were still hopeful about change and willing to take action. So for me, another question arises. What are we doing about this? How do we help the kids who are screaming for help? How do we help make our society a healthier place for future generations? The painful stories of teens we saw on the platform made us realize that our service needed to be available to adolescents, period. And that is why we are so thrilled to announce the launch of Talkspace for teens. Now, for the first time, it's possible for adolescents ages 13 to 18 to receive care on our platform. I'm also humbled and thrilled to announce that Talkspace is partnering with Give an Hour to offer teens 500 months of free therapy. I want to invite Thank you. I want to invite Dr. Barbara Van Dalen to the stage to talk about her organization, Give an Hour, which provides free mental health care to at-risk populations. As a child psychologist and as founder and president of Give an Hour, Barbara has a very personal connection to the topics we're discussing here today, and we're so grateful to have her here with us.
Thank you. Yeah. Oops, sorry. So I'm Mike, so I'm going to stand over here because I don't like to stand by. I always feel like I need to walk and talk. So thank you, and thank you for this wonderful event and for the opportunity to talk and for this partnership, because we are going to do amazing things together. So you heard a little bit about what we do, given our, how many mental health professionals are in the room right now? Yay! This is a target-rich environment, as they say. Okay, so how many Given Hour providers are in here? Bless you, thank you, thank you. So Given Hour provides free mental health care to a number of different populations. We began by providing care to those who serve their families and veterans. It moved very quickly into not only just giving direct care, giving talks in communities, consulting to other organizations. We have given 265,000 hours of free care thanks to the generosity of mental health professionals like all of you. So, if you have not heard of Given Hour, please go to givenhour.org. Please sign up because we are expanding almost as fast as we can move because the needs are huge. So now, in addition to service members and veterans and military families, we're working with at-risk teens in a couple of different communities. We opened up the network we open the network to respond to crises and disasters, man-made and natural, so all the hurricanes, the mass shootings. We also now are working with survivors of gun violence. We're the partner for every town. We're now moving into the fashion industry, which seems like maybe an odd, except for there are a lot of teens and kids who come into that industry who don't really know what they're getting into, and a lot of trauma happens. So we are so excited because what this will allow us to do is extend and expand the work of mental health professionals in a way that kids and teens and their families can make use of. So I love Talkspace. I love what we're going to do together. Thank you so much. And thank all of you. And go join.
This is the third year Talkspace has donated free therapy to a population in need. Our first year, we donated Talkspace therapy to members of the LGBTQ community in the wake of the Orlando mass shooting. Last year, at the start of the Me Too movement, we donated therapy to female-identified survivors of sexual assault. This year, with a special collaboration between Talkspace and Given Hour, we are focusing on the mental health of teens, and it's a privilege to offer this generation a better future. Today, I'm calling schools, colleges, parents, people from the mental health community, Facebook and Instagram leaders and government officials to wake up and recognize the crisis of teens' mental health. We need a radical collective action to improve funding for and access to teens' mental health care. We all have a role in whether the future of our country, today's young Americans, experience a breakdown or a breakthrough. Thank you.